C'est une chanson qui nous ressemble. Toi tu m'aimais et je t'aimais. Nous vivions tous les deux ensemble. Toi qui m'aimais, moi qui t'aimais. Mais la vie c'est pas ceux qui s'aiment tout doucement sans faire de bruit. Et la mer efface sur le sable les pas des amants désunis. The falling leaves drift by my window, the autumn leaves of red and gold. I see your lips, the summer kisses, the sunburned hands I used to hold. Since you went away, the days grow long, and soon I'll hear old winter's song. But I miss you most of all, my darling, when autumn leaves start to fall. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. Introductory song. My name is Renee Tannenbaum. I'm a vocalist, and I've been performing in the DC area for the past 20 years. I've also been a professional translator for well over 20 years. These two jobs intersect when I sing songs that have been translated to or from English, and there are many of these. I'd like to talk about the unique challenges that are involved in translating lyrics, focusing on the Romance languages with which I am familiar, and also sing a few songs and some excerpts. I've also printed out a QR code. There's one back there, and I believe up there, in case you'd like the full versions of the songs in translation that I sang excerpts of. You just go ahead and scan on that. These songs that I'll be discussing and singing are mostly from the Jazz Standards book and Latin jazz. And for this I will be accompanied by Rick Peralta on guitar. Thank you, Rick. The song I started with is one of the most famous jazz standards translated into English, Autumn Leaves, translated from the French, Les Feuilles Mortes. The music was composed by Joseph Cosma in 1945 with original French lyrics by Jacques Prévert and English lyrics by Johnny Mercer. Naturally, the translation of lyrics is approached in as many different ways as there are to write a song. When writing a song, sometimes the music is composed first and the lyrics are written to fit into the music, and then those are inspired by the music. Sometimes it's the reverse. A poem is written and music is composed to accompany the words, and sometimes it's a collaboration. Song translation occurs in much the same way. Sometimes the lyrics are a translation of the content and must fit into the music. Sometimes the translation tells an entirely new story, inspired by the original melody. In any scenario, the translator has the added challenge of dealing with the sounds of the words and the rhythm and the meter of the phrase, much in the way that a poetry translator does. In the same way as it takes an accomplished poet to translate poetry, a good lyrics translator must first and foremost be a good lyricist. This is definitely the case with the song that I just sang, Autumn Leaves. The English version was written by Johnny Mercer, undoubtedly one of the top lyricists of his day. Mercer wrote the lyrics to more than 1,500 songs, including Moon River, Satin Doll, and he won numerous awards, including 4 Oscars. In the original French song, Les Feuilles Mortes, which means dead leaves, there is some mention of falling leaves in an introductory verse. And the rest of the song speaks of lost love and footsteps being washed away in the sand. The English song uses the autumn imagery throughout. I can't see that far. I'm going to have to raise this in a minute. Hang on one second. I'm in a little trouble. Technical trouble. No? Much better. All right, that's better. The English song uses this autumn imagery, as I was saying, inspired by Joseph Cosma's Wistful Melody and the French song title, Les Feuilles Mortes, to capture the same essence of lost love. In songs like these, some liberty can be taken with the lyrics. In the end, what's important is that the song be good. It will not be compared to its original. It must stand on its own. However, translating the lyrics of a musical presents its own special challenges. In a musical, the words of the song play an important role. They tell us about the characters, they often advance the plot. So in this case, the translator cannot depart too far from the original content. When I lived in Italy, I remember that all English language movies were dubbed. They were very, very good at this technique. But up to that point, I had never seen a musical. One Christmas day, we all turned on the television to watch a movie together, as one does on Christmas, and they were showing The Sound of Music. This, I thought, could not be dubbed. How can you possibly dub Julie Andrews? So we started watching, and the scene opens with a panoramic shot of the Austrian Alps, climbing over the hill. You see Julie Andrews, arms outstretched, she spins around, and the music swells. La musica va per le valli in fiore. I couldn't believe my ears. But it was dubbed in Italian, and I sat and I watched it, and I have to admit, they did a pretty good job. They did a very good job, in fact. But there was one scene in particular that I found interesting from a translator's point of view, and that was the gazebo scene. Those of you who don't know it, that's the two young lovers, Liesl and Rolf, outside in the gazebo singing to each other. I am 16, going on 17, I know that I'm naive. Fellows I beat may tell me I'm sweet, and willingly I believe. So this, in Italian, they sang, 15 anni quasi 16, and that means 15 years, almost 16. The word for 17 in Italian is 17, and its many syllables didn't fit into the rhythm of the song. So the translator, Antonio Amuri, he chose to solve this problem by actually changing the age of the character. So I don't know how we feel about that as translators, and I'd like to hear your opinion about that. Is that an acceptable solution to the problem? This movie also brings up the translation issue of localization. In Italy, as in some other foreign versions, the song Climb Every Mountain, sung by the Reverend Mother, was censored because it was not deemed appropriate for a nun to be singing a non-religious song. The song Maria, at the beginning, which is also sung by all the nuns in the convent, was also cut for the same reason in the French and the Spanish editions of the movie. But many popular songs, the ones that I deal with in translation, do not have to deal with all these issues. They can be more or less faithful to the original song, depending on the actual song and other factors. Here is an example where the original English song was translated into French. The song It Might As Well Be Spring by Rodgers and Hart, 1945. Bob Haymes, he was best remembered for co-writing the jazz ballad That's All. You know it, beautiful song. He lived in Paris in his youth. He wrote this French version specifically for Blossom Dearie, a jazz vocalist who lived in Paris during the 50s, very well-renowned jazz vocalist, and she recorded many songs in French. This one was written for her by Bob Haymes, as I said. And the song uses the same imagery of spring and love as It Might As Well Be Spring, except for one basic element. It says, in the English, it says, it might as well be spring, and in the French, it says, par ce beau jour de printemps, which means on this beautiful spring day, which means in French, it is spring, and in English, it might as well be spring, so it isn't spring, but in the end, they both work in their respective versions. And we're gonna do a little excerpt of the version that we do, a little English and a little French. I'm as restless as a willow in a windstorm. I was jumpy as a puppet on a string. I'd say that I had spring fever, but I know it isn't spring. Agité comme oiseau dans la tourmente, tu m'énerves et tu m'irrites en ce moment. Le monde me désenchante par ce beau jour de printemps. I keep wishing I were somewhere else, walking down a strange new street, hearing words that I have never heard from a man I've yet to meet. I'm as busy as a spider spinning daydreams. I'm as giddy as a baby on a swing. I haven't seen a crocus or a rosebud or a robin on the wing. Tu es si joyeux, pourtant je suis malheureuse. D'où me vient tout ce tourment? Oh mon ami, c'est le printemps. It's spring. It might be spring. I discovered another approach to lyric translation when I came across an Italian translation of the Charlie Chaplin song Smile. Smile though your heart is aching, smile even though it's breaking, when you are, I don't remember how it goes. The Italian says, se mai ti parlassero di me, che lo sai se in fondo a te troverai un sorriso per me. So there, the Italian lyrics, they also speak of smiling through suffering and sadness, but the beginning of the song takes the purely phonetic approach. It says, the translator is echoing the very recognizable smile title by saying se mai ti parlassero, which means if ever. So it's another approach to the song that's very well known, and I find that kind of interesting. That's just one example of how the sound of the words, which is a very important element in poetry and song translation, it factors in. And that is also used when they're trying to maintain the feel of the song, because the words have a certain feel in different languages, and the original language may convey a certain kind of feel. And in that case, oftentimes the translator might leave a line in the original language. That's the case in Edith Piaf's famous song La Vie en Rose, Life in the Pink. They left, Mac David, who translated that in 1950, he left the line La Vie en Rose in French. Just do a little snippet of it for you. Quand il me prend dans ses bras, il me parle tout bas, je vois la vie en rose. When you kiss me, heaven sighs, and though I close my eyes, I see la vie en rose. Another example of this is the Italian song by Tony Renis from 1962, Quando, Quando, Quando. Here are a couple of verses with the original Italian lyrics by Alberto Testa and the English by Irvin Drake, with the Italian title line, Quando, 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 left for the mood that it imparts on the song. I think it sounds also better than When, 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 so the title is also left in English as Quando, Quando, Quando. You ready? 2, 3. Dimmi quando tu verrai, dimmi quando l'anno, giorno e l'ora in cui forse tu mi bacerai. When will you say yes to me? Tell me quando you mean happiness to me. Oh my darling, tell me when. Now, Bésame Mucho is a very famous Mexican bolero written by Consuelo Velázquez in 1940. And that also leaves the English title of Bésame Mucho. The song says, Bésame mucho, kiss me a lot, as if this night were the very last time. And in the English is by lyricist Sunny Skylar, who incidentally also wrote the song, It Must Be Jelly, 'Cause Jan Don't Shake Like That. You have to be a good lyricist to write translation. I'm going to sing you my whole song the way that we sometimes do it, with a little combination of both languages. Bésame, bésame mucho. Each time I cling to your kiss, I hear music divine. Bésame, bésame mucho. Hold me, my darling, and tell me you'll always be mine. This joy is something new, my arms enfolding you. Never knew this thrill before. Whoever thought I'd be holding you close to me, whispering it's you I adore. Bésame, bésame mucho. Como si fuera esta noche la última vez. Bésame, bésame mucho. Que tengo miedo a perderte después. So, in speaking about well-known international tunes that have been translated into English, Norman Gimbel must be mentioned. He wrote English lyrics to French, Spanish, and Portuguese songs. He also wrote English language songs on his own. But most notably, he wrote the lyrics to many Antonio Carlos Jobim bossa nova hits, including The Girl from Ipanema and Meditation. He also wrote the English lyrics to I Will Wait For You, which is from the Parapluie de Cherbourg, the movie The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, written by Michel Legrand and Jacques Demy. And he wrote the English lyrics to Sway by Luis Demetrio. The original version of Sway, which is called Quien Será, a Spanish song, asks the question, ¿Quién será lo or la que me quiera a mí? Which means, who will be the one who will love me? In Sway, in Gimbel's version, he writes a completely different song. He is responding to the rhythm of the song, and he wrote a song about dancing. So here's a verse of each. ¿Quién será lo que me quiera a mí? ¿Quién será? ¿Quién será? ¿Quién será lo que me dé su amor? ¿Quién será? ¿Quién será? When marimba rhythms start to play, dance with me, make me sway. Like a lazy ocean hugs a shore, hold me close, sway me more. So I'd like to do one more recent version of a song. It's called The Book of Love. It was from 1999, so I guess it's not that recent, but it is more recent than these tunes. It was written by Stephen Merritt of the Magnetic Fields. You may know the song, Peter Gabriel version from the movie Shall We Dance. It's called The Book of Love, as I said. It was translated into Italian, and it has a freer rhyme, this song. So that allows the translator, the room, to be a little more literal in the translation without many of the constraints from some of the song translations that we've done so far. Ooh, is that mood lighting?
No, it's automatic. It
Pardon
goes
me?
to sleep.
It's totally fine, I'm just
We
using
can turn it on.
Here's a little combo version that we sometimes do in performance. The book of love is long and boring. No one can lift the damn thing. It's full of charts and facts and figures and instructions for dancing. But I love it when you read to me, and you can read me anything. Il libro dell'amor m'annoia e pesa come l'anima, è pieno di carezza al cuore e modi per danzare. Mi piace quando lo leggi tu, e tu puoi leggermi il cielo al blu. So here's a song that shows how different songs can be in different languages because of the sound. We had been performing the song Plus je t'embrasse, a French song, for some time when somebody pointed out to me that it was actually the same tune as the gang that sang Heart of My Heart, written in 1926 by Ben Ryan. The English original has the story of the singers who were reminiscing about being in a young quartet and singing the line Heart of My Heart from a 1899 barbershop quartet. And the French words, which were written in the 50s by Max Francois, have nothing whatsoever to do with the original song. And the melodic sound of the French language further creates a completely different feel. So imagine, if you will, I am four young men. Heart of my heart, I love that melody. Heart of my heart brings back a memory. When we were kids on the corner of the street, we were rough and ready guys, but oh how we could harmonize. And then the French version. Plus je t'embrasse, plus j'aime t'embrasser. Plus je t'enlace, plus j'aime t'enlacer. Le temps qui passe ne peut rien y changer. Mon cœur bat quand tu t'en vas, mais tout va bien quand tu reviens, car plus je t'embrasse, plus j'aime t'embrasser. Je ne peux m'enlacer. J'en ai tellement envie que j'oublie tout dans la vie. C'est insensé ce que j'aime t'embrasser. So I'd like to end with Love. It's a popular jazz song with music by Bert Kempfert and lyrics by Milt Gabler. And it was recorded by Nat King Cole. I'm sure you all heard it. In 1965. And Nat King Cole, he did a lot of other songs, sometimes in Spanish. He did this song, he made an international version of this song in 6 languages. He sang it in English, Spanish, Italian, French, German, and Japanese, alternating couplets. So the English song literally spells out the definition of love, Love. And the multilingual version illustrates, to me, how universal the meaning of love is. And isn't that, of course, what the translating lyrics, the purpose of that is all about? To share the universal message of the music. So we're going to end by singing Love once in its original English, and then I'll do my take on Nat's version, but I just couldn't master the Japanese, so we'll leave that one. And then, of course, if you do want the complete lyrics to any of these songs, just scan the QR code at the end. 1, 2, 3. L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary. E is even more than anyone that you adore, and love is all that I can give to you. Love is more than just a game for 2. 2 in love can make it. Take my heart, but please don't break it. Love was made for me and you. Quiero que me expliques, por favor, lo que encierra la palabra amor. So che non ho nulla da desiderare ancora, perché per me tu sei il solo uomo al mondo, toi qui ne m'avais rien répondu. Je sais que tu ne m'avais pas cru. Doch seit ein paar Tagen brauch ich nicht mehr nachzuschlagen, denn ich lieb nur dich allein. Love was made for me and you. My colleague will continue with the second half of this presentation. And we go, watch yours.